Hi guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this. Another frosty one this morning, but beautiful sunrise all around. We'll show you that in a sec. Early start this morning, we're going to go to Lincoln. We've got a little bit of business to do in Lincoln, but while we're there, we're going to nip to Newark and we're going to have a look at some motorhomes. Like I said, we're thinking of downsizing ours. Too big for two of us now, really. Looking at maybe a van conversion, so we'll take you with us and you can have a look. Something a bit different on the channel. Also, when we get back, I spent quite a bit of last night doing a bit of a spreadsheet, looking at costings, what we spent last year, what we took in last year, the occupancy rates and everything. So when we get back this afternoon, we'll sit down and we'll go through that, just tell you all about, is it worthwhile doing, is it a money pit, things like that. So yeah, we'll catch up shortly. We'll set off to Lincoln shortly and we'll see you there. Another big job this weekend is removing all this cladding. We've got the renderers coming next week, so all this will have a fresh new look for 2026. Doing all this outbuilding all the way around, and they're going to do the toilet block as well. So it should look a lot fresher, a lot brighter next year, or this year. So I've just arrived at Brownhills. It's a bit fresh, but we'll have a look, see what they've got. Good thing about here is they're all open and you can just go in and have a look round. Brand new motorhomes, not Dobson off. I think they take them off because people tend to pinch them. So anything that's not sort of screwed in, or they remove, like shower heads and things like that. Can't have out these days, can you? This is Julia's favourite at the minute. Got a fixed bed at the minute, but you do need a ladder to get onto it. It's only a two-step ladder, but this one's an island bed. I just fancy one that's a bit smaller that you can just throw about and throw into parking spaces and tram on 70 mile an hour down into Europe rather than not an eldest fan, to be fair. There's plenty to choose from. We've never bought one from here, to be fair. We've heard good things and bad things about Brownhills, but they seem to be better than they used to be. Listening to conversations we've had and reviews. Don't think it's Julius sold on a smaller one, on a van conversion. Yeah. One thing we have decided on, we're definitely not having another white one. It's definitely going to be coloured. Big area in the cupboard. Well, we're still no wiser. Nothing's jumped out, nothing's any nicer than what we've already got really, so we'll go have a look at SMC where we got ours from, which is literally just 2 minutes down the road. See if they've got anything. If not, I might build my own. I once built my own a lot of years ago on an Iveco long wheelbase daily, and I do like the look of the VW crafters, so we might, that's another option, is to buy a van and convert it myself. Summer project. Nice Mini, if anybody's into the Minis. And this one's my favourite. I just fancy the van style. French bed, toilet, shower. 3-ring hob, full oven. Lounge. A new Ducato with automatic box. Microwave. Nice light van. Nice. Right, we've come to UK Campers now. See what these have got. Never been here before. Quite a big place, to be honest. A lot of big A classes, a lot of Fargos. But we'll have a look. And then at the minute we haven't seen anything really. It looks like we're sticking with his own existing one, to be fair, for now. Not the best place really, this one. I've never been before, but not very well prepped. Mainly Fargo and Burnsley, which are German, so it's top end market. Too dear for us, lovey. What? It seems it, doesn't it? And they're not prepped as nice at all like that. All these are locked up out here. I can understand that, because it's snowing and wet, but... Right, we'll go home, eh? Right, today off. Cup of tea. Hi guys, well, we got back from looking at caravans and campers. Yeah, we didn't really see anything really. There's a couple that we sort of took as fancy, but nothing that was going to convince us to sell up just yet anyway, or to trade in. Like I said, we are downsizing. Eventually we need to really, it's just too big. But yeah, we've been to SMC, Brown Hills, and UK campers in Lincoln. All plenty of choice. But as I said, out of them all, probably SMC were the best ones, and we bought this one from, not just saying that because we bought this last one from SMC, but they just sent a better quality of van that were there, both the used ones and the new ones, you know, and a little bit better looked after, and a little bit better environment to look around, to be honest. But yeah, but that's it. So we still know why is there to what we're doing. So, but anyway, we'll move on now, and we'll do as we promised, and we'll do the financials. Right, evening guys, or morning or afternoon as we say, depending on when you're watching this. Like I promised in the beginning of the video, we were going to have a look at his finances of what we did last year. As some of you are aware that's probably seen some of the other videos before, we bought this property back in November 24. We didn't buy it because we wanted a campsite. We bought the house because we liked the campsite. We'd both spoke about running a campsite before, and it was a dream that we thought would never probably ever happen. And we found this campsite, or this house with the campsite. So it was just best of both worlds, really. It was unbelievable, really, to find it like we did, and it all went through, and here we are anyway. So 12 months later, obviously, moved in November 24. The site had been closed for 12 months. So it was like starting from scratch again, really. And we just sort of got thrown into it. We opened in March with very little sort of knowledge of running a site. We've obviously been motorhomers, caravanners for 20 or 25 years, mainly motorhomers all over Europe. So we sort of knew what the standards were and what should be expected and things, but running it and looking at the finances and whether it's viable and anything, we just hadn't a clue, really. So we went for it, and we just sort of thought we'll go, get a year under his belt and see what happens, see where we are, see if we carry on, see what we do. The original plans, we were going to expand it and make it bigger and put more pictures in and get full planning. And we run it last year, and we liked the 5-van site so much, and the sort of we can give people, if they want it, they don't necessarily need it, but the personal touch. We spend a bit of time with everybody, have a natter if they want. If they want to keep themselves to themselves, keep themselves to themselves. It's not an issue. You know, you don't be thinking you're going to come and stay with us and you're going to have a camera pointed in your face all weekend. That ain't going to happen. You know, we know people on holiday. Sorry, that's just the cameras going off. We know people on holiday. Some people want to have a laugh, have a joke, have a natter for an hour. Some people just want to sit and be left on their own. So we know that. So we don't want to scare everybody off thinking you're going to be having cameras pushed in front of your faces and things like that. So anyway, we'll get going and we'll have a look at what we did and whether it's worth carrying on, really. So yeah. Right, so what I've done is I've sort of looked and broke everything down into what we spent last year. So really, the first item on this is water to pitches. We decided halfway through the season to put water to every pitch, so you've more or less got a fully serviced pitch. You've got electric, water, waste on each pitch. The only thing that's not fully serviced really is it's not hard standing. We've put it into the figures, but really this is a long-term thing. It's something that's spread over the sort of longevity of the site, really. You know, if it's 10 years before we have to replace it or upgrade it. But we've put it in just so you can see it. So the water to the pitches, 1,896, that's what it cost us to put that in materials. Obviously, none of this includes my time, Julia's time, any of the time that anybody's helped us, unless we've got obviously hired help in. So we've sort of put the infrastructure directly to each pitch. Obviously, it improves the convenience for guests, reduces movement around site, and prepares the site for fully serviced pitches if we ever decide to put hard standing in. Again, last year, spoilt rotten because it was so dry. We didn't have to cancel anybody, or we didn't have to tow anybody on or tow anybody off. So again, this year could be totally different, we don't know. But I prefer grass. I've always preferred to stay on grass if possible. So my preferential would be to keep grass pitches if possible. Obviously, if we find out that we're having to make a mess dragging people on and off, we'll have to obviously review that. Obviously then we had new signage to the site when we first sort of opened, all round site, sort of pointing everybody in the right direction on the main road. We had some flags done and bits and bats like that. As you can see there, we just did it, easier navigation for guests, improves first impressions and reduces confusion and questions. And then we also put some new lighting around site. There were very little lighting sort of, this was an hard one really, because on a clear night, the stars, the amount of stars you can see, it's unbelievable. So we didn't want to flood the place with light, but obviously we've got to be conscious that people do have to walk around on an evening. So we sort of tried to do it as subtly as possible, and I think it's worked really, to be fair. So we sort of put some festoons up around the entrance and the garden, and then we put some sort of marker lights on the paths, just so people could see where they're going when they're going to the toilet. So then we put they're always solar, to be fair, solar lights on each post where we've got the taps. So yeah, that, as you can see, it improves safety and visibility around site. So yeah, there were the upgrades really that were a big cost, and yeah, we've included it at the minute, but it isn't the day-to-day running costs. It's something that we decided to do. We could have quite easily traded all year without doing these. Would it have had an impact on? Probably not, because obviously we haven't really advertised that we've got water pitches on the website or anything like that. It was just about when people come, it was a bonus. We didn't put the pitch prices up or anything after we'd done it. We have put the pitch prices up a couple of pounds this year on a weekend. And what we've done this year as well to try and help things, you'll see as we get further on, is last year you could come and just stay one night, no matter when it was. And that's what I wanted to do. But then we did realise we were losing a lot of weekends to people that had just come maybe Friday or Saturday if they were passing through. And then we'd get people ringing up wanting to come for 2 days, Friday, Saturday, to make a weekend, which most people do on a weekend. And we were having to turn them round. So it was sort of affecting as occupancy really quite badly on some weekends. So this year we've sort of made it, if it is a weekend, it is a minimum of 2 nights stay, Friday, Saturday. So yeah, that's what we've done on the upgrades. So yeah, as you can see, summary, the upgrades were carried out to improve the overall quality and safety and the usability of the site, and also preparing for the future growth and higher occupancy, hopefully. That's what we're aiming for, to be fair. And they're one-off investments, not annual running costs, which I'd explained. And as you can see, the total upgrade cost was £3,330. Like I said earlier, whether it had any effects, I don't think it did, but it's there, it's done now, it's there for the longevity of the site really, apart from a little bit of maintenance. Right, then we move on to the annual costs. Costs we take every year before we even open the gates. So we've just renewed as Freedom Camping certificate. We've got to apply for that every 12 months. That enables us to run as a 5-van site, obviously without any planning. And we've had to do it last January. We've just done it now. That has actually gone up around about 33% from last year, which is it's still cheap at £150. Don't get me wrong. but I think it had been the same cost when we paid for it last year. I think it was £90, and it had been that for 10 years apparently, but just running costs for them, they've had to put it up. So that has jumped up substantially, but again, £150, it's not massive, is it really? And that allows us to legally operate as a campsite. The next thing we have to do with electrical testing of hookups, which is £250, and that covers professional testing of all electrical cups. And we've got to do that before they'll issue that certificate. We've got to send them a certificate that covers all the electrical hookups on site and any electrics that any visitor will come in touch with, really. And then obviously we've got to have public liability insurance, which obviously protects you as guests, protects us as a business, and is required to operate. Again, we've got to send that before they'll even issue this certificate. So they're costs that you can't avoid at all. You've got to do them. There's no alterations to them. The insurance, again, £243. It's not massive, I don't think, for what it covers. So yeah, it's pretty good, to be fair. So the next slide, UK campsites listed. So we pay UK campsites to list our site, and that's £59.99. And that gives a little bit of sort of visibility out there. We had quite a few bookings from it last year, to be fair. It was pretty good. And you can go live on that and update your availability, but you've got to do it manually. It's not linked to our booking software, so to be fair, we don't bother with that. So there is a link on there to our website, which then the new website, you can book direct with it. You can check the availability, which is live. It's 100% live, so if it says it's available, it is available. And then we've got us commercial bins. So obviously we've got recycle bin and a general waste bin. Last year that cost us £245. Now that is probably going to go up a little bit because we used a company that were based in Skegness. They've just been bought out by a bigger company. And to be fair, the original company because of the amount of campsites around here, they know that we're quite seasonal, so there wasn't a monthly cost. We just rung up when we wanted them emptying. As long as we rung up on a Friday, they'd come and empty them on a Tuesday, and that worked quite well. So like now we haven't had them empty because we've been closed. We do sometimes put a bit of, obviously if we're doing any work, we might put the rubbish in and we have to have them emptied, but for the season we're open, we just obviously ring them now. Obviously the general waste that has food in, we try to get that done every fortnight because obviously you leave food in there, it's gonna attract vermin and things like that. So that we're getting emptied every fortnight. But the other one, the recyclable, were probably monthly, to be fair, last year. Just again because of those occupancy ratings, really. Then we have the software, which 336 a year. This is a godsend really for us because I'm still working. This is sort of a part-time job really, and it's a retirement plan. So obviously if I'm out on site, Julia's working still in the bars or anything like that. If somebody books, it's done. It takes care of it all for us, where if we were just taking phone calls, there's a good chance that we forget to write it down, or Julia takes a call, I take a call, and we end up double booking and things like that. There's no way we can do that with this booking. You can book online, you can ring through the website, you can get in touch with us on Facebook, any of the social media sites, and when we book it, we just book it on the online booking system. So again, we know it's available, so there's no chance of any double bookings or anything like that, and it does reduce our admin time immensely, really. It really does. So yeah, and it's 24/7 booking availability. So yeah, it's brilliant. That's something I couldn't do without, to be honest. Really couldn't do without that. So yeah, we'll go on to the next slide. So electric cost, obviously, that is £1,032. It is a commercial rate because obviously it's classed as a business, so we're probably paying a little bit more than we would on a domestic rate, but there's no way around that, unfortunately. And that's probably going to go up because we've obviously just had the extra power put in, the additional power which we need to do the showers and to do other things around site, so we're up to our maximum capacity. So that obviously covers your electrical hookups, the general lighting around the site, and daily operation of toilets and things like that. Then we've got fuel for tractors and mowers. Obviously we can't do the grass cutting, anything like that. That was £311 last year. Obviously it keeps everything tidy, maintains access areas, and presentation of the site, keeps that in good order. So again, that's something we can't really avoid. That's a cost. Then we've got the maintenance, which covers general repairs, wear and tears, and small fixes of all things. You know, tools, sometimes we've got to sharpen the edge cutters and things like that, replace the spools on the trimmers. The lawnmower broke down, it threw a belt off, so we had to take that in and get that fixed. It was the timing belt on that keeps the two blades running together so they don't catch. So yeah, we've £456.20, so it wasn't massive really, but we did buy a lot last year of things like the tractor, the edge cutters, all the still equipment for doing the edge cutting, the strimming. Again, I'd have had to buy that if we'd have just moved on here with the 4 acres and it wasn't actually open to the public when it comes out. I'd have still had to cut the grass and maintain it. So it's just something I had to buy. So we haven't included that, but 80% of the tools get used to obviously keep the campsite tidy and everything. So yeah, so we'll go on to the next slide. So website and social media. Again, this has been massive really for us this last 3 months. Obviously the £400, it covers the website hosting, ongoing updates, the social media management. It doesn't really at the minute cover this YouTube channel, which, like I said, I don't know if you watched the first one, why we did this. We could have gone to pitch up and paid a percentage to try and get his occupancy rate up. It's all about getting his occupancy up. Last year, we'll go on to it later, but his occupancy were well down really when you look at the averages. So we thought, how do we get this occupancy level up? And it's staff charging £23 a pitch, and then only getting £15 of it. You're not throwing it away, but we thought there must be another way of doing it, hence why we're trying this channel. And we were spoiled a bit really. We did the first video that went out, we had 15,000 views now. All the other ones we're averaging around about 800, 1,000. They are climbing slowly, but we were spoiled when we got the first one. We just thought, unbelievable what's happening here. And then obviously it's tailed off a little bit. We've got 1,000 subscribers and that's still going up slowly. But somebody did say you need to have about 50 videos on and you need to be going for about 6 months before you start hitting big numbers. And obviously because we're not open, it's hard, you know. You're probably getting fed up of me just digging holes and working on sheds and messing about and things like that. Hence why today we've obviously been and gone looking at motorhomes. We take the camera with us, and obviously people that come have got motorhomes, caravans, it might be something of interest. We're going to try and do a little bit more of that over these next few weeks before we start opening, and then when we open and we're out doing maintenance and obviously welcoming guests and things, hopefully the content should be a lot better, and then this should go up. And where we look at it, if we have 1,000 subscribers now, if half of them subscribers came for one night, we'd be fully booked all year we're open. So fingers crossed. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if a small percentage of them come and join us, which some have already booked, and we thank you for that, it really is appreciated. We can't wait to meet you. So it's a way of getting his occupancy rate up without paying somebody a commission. So yeah, that's why we're doing this channel, and I have explained, I think, that before. So, but the social media stuff, the Facebook and that, we do get a lot of bookings. It asks you when you book online where you've sort of seen the advertisement and how you've come about booking, whether it's a website, whether it's social media, whether you're a past guest or a recommendation. So we monitor that quite well really to see where the bookings are coming from. And social media is a biggie, to be fair. Facebook's massive for us. I think a lot of our clientele probably don't do Instagram, even though we are on Instagram. A lot of our clientele probably aren't on Instagram, I don't know. I know I'm not on Instagram, it's the son that does all the social media. So that their sort of age group, Instagram and mad at this, but I'm not. But some people may. But Facebook, we do a lot through Facebook, to be fair. So that's worth it. It really is. So yeah, next slide. So the total annual cost is £3,442. That's what it cost to open and get people through the gate last year. So it's not a massive cost, you know, at all really, in the grand scheme of things, for what things cost nowadays. But then we have to look at what we've done, obviously in takings as well. So there's annual cost there, 3,442. As upgrades, 3,330. So the cost last year was 6,813. The cost of opening with no upgrades were 3,483. So that's the sort of figure we're really looking at, really, when we look at what we've sort of taken in through the gates. So we're looking at occupancy. So because we go through this booking thing, we can print loads of different reports off. We can do cash reports, occupancy reports. You can tell us where there's sort of busy periods, where there's not busy periods, things like that. So we've sort of looked at this, a simple example of a 5-pitch site. So if all pitches are full every night, obviously that's at 100% occupancy. If on average just over half the pitches are filled, obviously it's a 55%. And obviously occupancy, this is where we make our money. That's how we do it. And our occupancy last year were poor, to be fair, really poor. So obviously, as you can see on with them figures there, they're giving you 100% occupancy theatrical, quiet weekends, bad weather, and off-season periods reduce averages. A steady 50-70% occupancy is a really realistic and sustainable. We were nowhere near that last year. And some of it were our fault, to be fair. Obviously, as you all know, we run the mobile bar business. A lot of the events we do are booked 12, 18 months in advance, especially the weddings and things. So we'd got them booked in before we even thought about purchasing this property. And obviously we honoured all them dates. So some weekends, and a couple of the bank holiday weekends last year, to be fair, we just closed the site. We just closed the bookings so nobody could book, because we knew we weren't going to be here. Next year that's going to be different. One of us is going to be here, or we're going to have somebody to cover that weekend. So that'll make a big difference, will that. I'm sorry if you can hear the rain, but it's absolutely bouncing down, and I'm in the conservatory, but hopefully Callum, as a wizard, can blank that out a little bit. So yeah, so that's a little bit blurred, to be fair, but you can see there if you can make it out. So March, we did open in March, but we're only the last week of March, so we had nobody coming in March whatsoever. April, we did 77.55% occupancy. May, call it 17% occupancy. June, 15%. July, 21. August, 16, which we were a bit surprised with that in August. We were really quiet in August. And we think because we're adult-only site, a lot of people that go to adult-only sites or go on holiday as adult-only tend not to go in August, because they know everywhere's packed and there's a lot of children about. So if they came here and they want to go onto the seaside resorts, they know they're going to be chock-a-block. Campsites that are adult-only, they're going to have kids, and they're going to be full of, obviously, children because they're off school. And we think that is why August was a poor month, because when we look back at July, at 21, that were the sort of first 2 weeks in July, 3 weeks in July. It tailed off immensely to back end of July. So again, schools usually finish around about the 20th of July, I think, 18th, 20th. And it just dropped off a cliff then, right up to sort of end of it. And then, as you can see, September, it went back up to 22%. So that's why August were poor, which there's nothing we can do about that, I don't think. But we need to be getting them percentages up massively, really, next year. Otherwise, it isn't viable, really, to open, you know. But probably quite a lot of people in the same boat, and again, it was a learning curve for us. There's probably a lot of things we can do to try and attract more people. So we're looking at his income. So income for 2025, we had an average of 18.9% occupancy over the year. When you look at the slide from a few slides ago where it says we need to be at 50 to 60%, we're well down. So we financially we took 4,650 in. If we could get our occupancy level up to 55%, that'd give us an income of 12,441. Get it up to somewhere at 75%, we're at 18, and so on, 24. We're never going to get to 100, we know that. But you know, if we can get somewhere between the 55 and the 75, it stacks up quite well. You know, you've got to remember these figures, yeah, they don't look a lot, but that's only for a 6 month, really. We only open March and sort of end of March and close middle of October, so it's only a 6 month sort of working window, really. So, you know, for someone that's a retirement plan and a retirement business, it's not too bad, to be fair, that. But obviously if it stays at the 18.9%, it's not worth doing. It's just not, we're losing money, really, more or less, you know. So, because none of the figures in the costings paid me or Julia a wage. You know, it would just, it sort of wiped its own backside, really, last year, if you want to use a phrase like that. That's about it. So we need to be somewhere between the 55 and the 75. Now, so far, touch wood, whether it's this that's working or whether we've had a lot of repeat, well, we've had loads of repeat business, and you've only got to look on Google or on any of the sort of sites that we're on where people are leaving reviews. They're all 5-star reviews, which is brilliant. And with nearly everybody that came last year, I'd have said 90% of them's rebooked again for next year, and we're fully booked at Easter. We're fully booked August bank holiday. We're fully booked end of May. Still some availability for beginning of May, to be honest, for that bank holiday beginning of May. But that's the only bank holiday that we've actually got availability. And we are getting some sort of long weekly bookings, fortnightly bookings even, for the middle of the year and sort of April and things like that. So to say that this time last year with no bookings whatsoever, it's already on the up, I think. And a lot of people, and we were guilty of it ourselves, we'd sort of look at the weather on a Wednesday and say, right, we'll pack the motorhome up and we'll get off Friday and go somewhere Friday to Sunday. So I'd have said a good 50 or 60% of our customers do that. You know, they book last minute when they look at the weather and see the weather, which that's what caravanning and motorhoming is all about. You know, there's no point going and sitting in it if it's bouncing down all weekend. So yeah, so there's his income costs. So we're looking at his profit and loss. So 2025, we're looking at a loss of £2,613. That is obviously with the upgrades which we've taken out. So we did make a little bit of a profit, to be fair, but very, very little. 2026, if we obviously do it at 55%, which we need to be there somewhere abouts, we've got an income of 12,441, and then we've got costs, which, to be fair, is going to go up a little bit, but not massively. We're going to have to obviously probably get the septic tank emptied halfway through the year, where last year I think it's 5,000 gallon or something like that, and it's a sealed unit, it's a septic tank for the campsite because obviously of the chemicals. So we have to monitor that, and obviously if it's getting anywhere near full, we get that emptied. But we managed to do a full season on it last year without having it emptied. So obviously not everybody that comes uses their own toilet. Some use the toilets on site, so you know, it's not everybody that's using it. But yeah, and then the bins will probably go up a little bit. Like I said, the general waste we were getting emptied, whether it were half full because it had food in it. But the recycling, it might be that if we're busier, that's getting full and we have to empty that a little bit more often, and we just get charged for the times they come and pick it up and empty it. So we don't know obviously the cost next year, and we don't know the profit and loss next year. Hopefully it's going to be a profit, and hopefully we're somewhere at 55% or above, you know, really. And touch wood, I think we're going to be somewhere at least that, to be honest. So yeah, so that's the end of that, and we've sort of open book and nothing to hide. You know what I mean? It's there as it is. So hopefully you'll have seen this video and you'll all be looking and wanting to book. So once again, guys, thanks very much for watching. It is really appreciated. Have a look on his website if you haven't seen it. It's www.halfwayhousetouring.co.uk. Can't even say it. And don't forget, if you like this channel, it's the first time you've seen it, give us a subscribe, give us a like, and if you want to press that bell, it'll give you a notification of any new videos that's coming out. Coming up in the summer, hopefully we're going to go to 2 a week, because there'll be a lot more sort of going on site. So yeah, have a great weekend, guys, and we'll see you next week. Thanks very much. Bye bye.